So maybe you just left a narcissistic relationship or a toxic person. Maybe it's been a while. Maybe you're thinking back to the relationship that you had, or maybe you're in one right now and you're trying to figure something out. And that is, was it all a lie? Was any of it real? And did this person even really care about you? Is this something that you're struggling with? Have you been there and struggled with this in the past? We're going to talk about that here today live. My name's Lise Colucci, and I am here to help you understand, heal from, get over, get through, get past, and transform your life after toxic relationships and narcissism from other people coming at you in your life. Okay, so let's just jump in with this. The thing is, you had an experience that to you was 100% real. Your world was one of creating relationship with someone, whether it be your parent, a friend, a coworker, a spouse, a partner, whatever, that in your world, from where you came from, you were trying to create something real. You were in with both feet, a relationship, trying to make something through, being in relating to this other person. And when we find out that the whole thing was just us believing a delusion that the narcissist created, and when we find out that the grooming and the love bombing and all of that wasn't actually what it looked like, it can be super devastating, don't you think? I mean, I know that for myself, that was a really confusing thing to think about, and a really like your mind almost splinters when you try to put those pieces together because like how could that even be real? How could that not have been what I thought it was? Right? So, um let's talk a little more about that. I'm going to say, hey to you. It's always a struggle for me, says Deb, realizing as an adult that my parents never actually loved me because they can't, right? Because their version of love isn't actually love, because their methods of showing you love were actually quite toxic. Right, and that your version of what love is and your experience of how it feels to be nurtured and how it feels to be cared for, my gosh, it's not even in line with what's healthy, right? Like that's a lot to understand and to take on for yourself. Um and it's still devastating. Yes, even knowing that they can't, even knowing that it's not your fault, it's still devastating. It's a giant loss in life, something that we can't get back, and something that we can't create any closure around or any feelings of safety around or anything really. All we can do is move through it, move past it, grieve what we need to grieve about it, and hopefully learn to create for ourselves a better life. All right. So, what I want to say here. So, something that happens with narcissists, whether they're your parents, as you're describing, or in relationships or friendships or anything, is a narcissist will groom you. So, understanding that the grooming process is part of how they attract people to themselves, keep the people that they are attracting continually paying attention to them, and start forming the narrative that you will base your relationship on. So the grooming process isn't just here, have some candy, right? It's this is the best candy that we have, and we eat this together, and we always share this candy, and therefore it will always continue to be that way. It's a sort of future faking, narrative creating, love bombing combination that gets you to believe you are going down a path with a person toward a goal, toward an aim, toward a purpose, whatever, that gets you to believe that they are something that they're not. It gets you to believe in the relationship itself. And this happens intermittently through the relationships with toxic people because they are constantly grooming toward the next situation, toward the next purpose, right? So is that real? Sure was real to you, right? What we have to see, I think, and I think it's really beneficial when you are trying to heal from this, is to separate from who they are, the person that you are. and to witness that you did experience something very different from what the narcissist's version of the truth is, and that they are very, I mean, I know, like we were saying here with Deb, that it's not that it takes away the pain. It's that it takes the cognitive dissonance down a notch or 2 or 3 to be in full acceptance and allowance that that narcissistic person is who they are and how they are, whatever toxic version of toxicity you had around you, whether it be narcissistic or otherwise, that is how they function in relationship. They don't function from a genuine, authentic place that allows for two people to relate and really see one another and be present to one another. I mean, if you had a toxic parent or a toxic relationship in your life of any kind, my guess is you have felt unseen for the majority of the time you were with them, or you have felt something missing in the connection, or you have felt like you don't matter, invisible, unseen. And that, here's the thing, none of it's true in the sense that it's all being created by a narcissistic person or a toxic person's version of what they need it to be, and then their assertion of control through manipulation to twist the relationship into something that serves them. The truth of your side of it, I was in a relationship because I loved this person and I was trying to, I love my parents and I'm trying to, right, relate back and forth. Two separate realities. So seeing that they're two separate realities, sometimes our minds can settle down. The why did this happen? How could they be that way? What's wrong with me's? And all of that static that happens that keeps the two worlds connected. You see, all of the cognitive dissonance, all of the thoughts, the looping thoughts of what did I do wrong? Maybe it was me's. I should have been a better whatever's. All of the thoughts of how could they do that? How could a person be that way when you know they lack empathy and you know that's why they're that way? But I get it because you're saying for yourself, like, I could never be that way. I can't even empathize with that because it's so far out of my reality. But here's the thing, all of those questions, all of those thoughts, all of the cognitive dissonance, all of the questionings, the self-blame is the connector to that toxic person. If you look at it, they're an individual, you're an individual, okay? And what is connecting you are experiences and emotions and beliefs. And every single one of those things, including the trauma bonding and all of that, is the connecting force going toward that toxic person. So as we start seeing in them as separate from us, and as we start allowing that to be the truth, those connections break. It's painful, but they break, okay? And those connections recede back and they become less connected, really. And you are able to see the situation for what it is more clearly. Then what you're left with is the grief that you're describing here, Deb. It's the grief, right? Then we're left with the grief. Then we're left with the processing of it all and the understanding of how it's affected us, how it's affected you, right? And then what? Then we're on a journey. Then we're on a journey towards healing. Then we are open and vulnerable to our own experience in it, not theirs, because we understand theirs is separate, theirs is different, and they're over there. Okay. So, what are we saying here? No, what's more devastating? Realizing my kid is, oh no, is a narcissist and can't love me either. Oh, Deb, how are you not a narcissist, right? That's a question. And if I am reminded, that'd be a good video. How am I not a narcissist with everything and everyone I've dealt with in my life, right? Okay. I try to accept this interaction. It's so hard. It's so hard. It really comes down to living for oneself and oneself's experience, and then through that, being able to share with those who are also filled with empathy and able to share back. So it's this, when we're in the tangled up world of narcissism, because we're around toxic people, there's never freedom. There's never freedom to just be yourself and express and share, because there's always the giving that they will take and always the twisting of truths that they will create. So, yeah. Um, oh, James, that sounds fun. Okay. Let's see. Okay, so I'm gonna keep going. So, what did I say here? When you're in a relationship with anyone, parent, anything, any kind of relationship, when you're relating to another human, let's put it that way, you're following the flow of what goes on between you, right? I mean, what do you do? Like, let's picture this. We're hello, hello, two people meeting, people talking. They're following the flow of what goes on, who that person is and how who that person is and how they relate is going to depend on who each person is, right? And when you're a kind and loving and empathic person, or even when you're watching for red flags, you're simply going with it, right? You're doing the natural thing. See, but the natural thing to a narcissist is to control. So they come in preloading the narrative 10 steps ahead of things. I mean, I have heard of narcissistic people months ahead of time beginning a smear campaign. How did they know they were going to need to use it? Because you know what? They need it in their back pocket to always need to use it. They know they're eventually going to smear you. They know you're eventually going to figure something out. And so they preload everybody else's narrative with something like you're crazy, you're a chronic liar, you're dramatic. Oh my gosh, maybe you are borderline. Like they will preload everybody else's world with it. And so that's kind of what happens when they're grooming, when they're meeting you, when they're love bombing you, is they're just telling you a fable about what they are imagining between you two that they think will get you interested. And as they're doing that, they're learning more and more about you because they're watching the responses. And this is the grooming process, right? They're watching the responses and they're watching your reactions. And then they're tailoring their little world to fit that narrative so that you both fit in it and you feel really good. And then when the truth comes out, it's all illusion, right? Okay, let's see. I can't. Okay. Yeah. So basically, what I wrote down here is to us, we follow the flow, the natural flow of a relationship. We follow that natural flow of the relationship, and we're drawn in by what we see in front of us because of they're not boring. Okay, they're not. A narcissistic person, if they're boring in the beginning, it's because what you needed at that time was someone to be boring. They are meeting you right where you need to be met in order for them to slip into your life and for them to get the supply they need from you in that moment. So, but to them, okay, to a narcissistic person, what did I said? They're after the attention, they're after the supply. All right. Um, they can't be alone. They can't have a world where they're just okay. Let me rephrase that. There are some that can totally be alone. For the most part, the narcissistic person requires others to fuel their ego to support their narrative of who they believe they are and their delusion of who they want everyone to believe they are, including themselves. And so they require these interactions with other people, and they will do so by being charming, by love bombing, by grooming, by giving you attention, okay, so that they can get you in their life, and they can get it so that you are directing all of your focus toward them really fast, okay? Or slow, even if they do it slow, they're still pulling and trying to get you to focus on them and your life to revolve around them. And here's the thing with the covert narcissist, though, if they're going to say, "That's not what I wanted. I would never want that. Who would want that? That's insane. That's I would not want all the attention. I absolutely want it to be both people." This is how they talk, especially in the beginning or when it comes to relationships. So you got to be careful there too. You can't just rule that out and say, "Oh no, they want yeah, no." Um, anyway, what happens in there? And I wrote this down here to have my little notes here, but what happens in there is dependency is created. They're creating a dependency on the relationship. They set things up so that you are less secure in the relationship. Maybe they don't text you back. Maybe they disappear for a few hours or a few days. Maybe they're secretive about certain things. Maybe they go hot and cold on you. Maybe, there's all these things that they do, which creates the insecurity. It's the intermittency of these things that makes the cognitive dissonance start to happen and the confusion in your brain start to happen. And so as these things are happening, what happens is you become dependent on that relationship. And the reason it's so hard to see reality and be okay with the reality is that you have a dependency on that relationship. Most of us at some point have this dependency of, I have put in so much time. I have put in so much effort. And I'm here to tell you, you shouldn't have had to have had a healthy relationship, right? All these things we think are the reasons we should stay around, or the reasons we should hang on, or the reasons we should like keep going over and over in our heads about it, is because of all the time spent, all the years spent, whatever it is, coupled with this dependency. When your life is about something else, it doesn't matter what, and you lose that whatever it is, it's devastating. Okay? And you're lost. And so because the world of a narcissist is literally the world of the narcissist and you are in it, there's no room for you, which means most of us have pretty much gone that route of we are now dependent on this relationship to feel like we have any feet on the ground. Does that make sense? It's subtle sometimes how they do it. Narcissistic parents will set this up from the beginning. I cannot tell you how many people I talk to in coaching who have narcissistic parents, one or the other or both, who have absolute dependency on those parents emotionally, financially, in all ways, right? Physically, even sometimes, because they did not get a chance to individuate and they did not get a chance to be separate from that toxic person. And they were groomed to believe they couldn't do it their whole life. Well, to see that as a truth, oh my gosh, you're 45 years old and you're left with what? Wait, I can't do this on my own because I was told I can't do this on my own and somehow I bought it. Right? That's a lot to take and it's a lot to hear. And it's a truth we have to hear, because the truth is, yes, you can do this. And no, you don't need these toxic people. They just want you to believe you need them because they need you. That's the actual truth. Without you, there is no supply. Without you, there's no attention. Without you, there's no drama that gives them the ultimate supply of their life, right? And if not you, they'll find someone else to do that for. We do not need that. What we need is to come inside ourselves, be more present to ourselves, be more mindful of our lives, focus on self, meaning the development of our self-esteem, the development of our self-worth, the growth of our self-esteem and our focus toward what we want in our life, our path, right? And and in doing so, we start giving to the world so much greater than we would have had we been focused on a narcissist. And that's a funny thing to me too, because as empathic people, we feel often that our purpose here is to help others. A lot of us have the feeling that our function on this planet, since we were born, is to do for others, to help others, to give to others. And we lose self. If you grow up in a toxic environment or you have had toxic relationships, you learn this even harder lesson that, yep, you're not here for you. You don't get anything. You're selfish if you want something, blah, 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 right? But the truth of it is you cannot fully give to others without being present to self. It really does require self first. It really does require finding separation from the toxic things in your life, from the energy. Let's not even call it toxic for a minute. Let's just say from the places where there's energy leaks. Okay, the energy leaks meaning places and people, things, functions, and whatever that your energy falls into, whether you like it or not. An energy gift would be a project you're working on and you're pouring your energy into it. And that might get draining if you're not balancing things, right? But most of the time, creative energy, energy of like focus and direction, self-guided, self-directed, the places we choose to put our attention and our energy don't feel draining. They feel, it feels reciprocal and invigorating. Okay. And that's the place I would like to help people come to for themselves, because what we've learned instead is give until you can't breathe, give until there's nothing left. So the lie here is that that's what you're supposed to do. The actual lie in this situation is that the world that the narcissist created in your mind isn't real. Okay? It's what they needed you to believe in order to stay with them. It's what they needed you to believe in order to serve them. Serve them, you guys. That's what they want. So, um, it's a whole, I mean, I'm gonna use the woo-woo term. It's a paradigm shift in our minds, in our hearts, in our everything to see the world differently outside of the indoctrination of the narcissistic lies, okay, about how the world should function. If you ask a narcissist, it should all function around them. Ask another one, it should function around them. Uh-oh. Right? And if you go from one to the other, you get used to it. You get used to pouring your attention toward others in that way instead of pouring your attention toward what you choose and allowing that energy and attention to flow out to others who are in need, who you're helping, who you're friends with. Does that make sense? It's a totally different way of doing it. So I'm going to end pretty soon here because I have to talk to someone, but I just want you to know that that is a possibility for yourself. And it is more of a truth because within that space, you're living in your authenticity. You're living in the truth of who you are. And you are functioning from the giving, or rather the exchange of energy, rather than the giving of energy. The pouring out of attention and supply ends when you start allowing the flow to go back and forth. And that includes self, which means we have to learn to give to self and learn to be inside of self and be okay with that. That it isn't selfish, it isn't unfair, it isn't wrong of us to put self first. Okay? Not in the way a narcissist does. See, my putting self first does not mean I need you to do it also. Yeah, right? Like, I don't need you to be like, Lisa's first. I wouldn't want that. Maybe once in a while for like 2 minutes, sure, why not? But like, and that's part of a relationship, right? Oh, it's your turn to talk. Go. Right? Uh it's not always, and it's not like I'm going to talk the whole time, even though that's what I'm doing here, right? But if we were having an actual conversation, it would be back and forth. We'd be volleying. We'd be sharing the attention, the space, the time, the energy. And when you have a really deep and amazing conversation with someone, do you not feel invigorated and full of energy and recharged? I know I do. And even here, like sharing from this space, I'm trying to share with you what is possible for you and the way I attempt to live my life. Okay. And that in itself does not feel like I'm pouring out to you and it's so heavy and draining. It feels light and invigorating because I'm giving from that space. But guess what I did before I came on here? I was going to come on here an hour ago. I took a nap. Okay. For real. I needed it. I played with the dogs. I couldn't think of a topic. So I'm like, let's find an old one. And I went and found one. I'm like, let's redo this in a totally different way. And so we're doing, but see, this was all me taking care of me first, not in a selfish way, in a like, I need this right now. I'm requiring this. And then here I am present to you. Okay. Does that make sense? And so the truth is, your life can be something kind of like that, or your version of it, or whatever you want for it. It does not have to follow the patterns of the narcissistic person, even if it means accepting the fact that your parents didn't love you. Excuse me. Even if it means their love was toxic. Okay. And that hurts. Yes. And also, now what? And so where do we go from here? We cannot stay in the past and stay and try to like fix the past through dragging it like heavy baggage into our present moment. it doesn't work. We we have to find a way to incorporate who we are, what we choose, how we choose, into our life and function from there, knowing where I came from kind of hurt a lot, devastating. That the people around me may not be very healthy and I may not want to be around them. So I may like for your child, I'm assuming it's an adult child. You may need to find a different way to relate and keep the distance. But you know what? It's called individuation, and you let them live their life and you live yours, and you can still love them, even if it's not reciprocal in the same way. Okay. Even though it hurts. And you can place boundaries and you can decide for yourself how much communication and contact there will be. Do you see what I'm saying? And so it may not be perfect, but you can take what is there and make it so it works for your life a little bit better through not having so much attachment and identification with the toxic person and that you had any part in the reason that they are the way they are, because you didn't. They are the way they are. Okay. All right. What are we saying here, you guys? I kind of went off on a different direction. That's what I tend to do on the live streams. Thank you guys for being here. First of all, hey, James and Games and Deb. So totally over. Who else is in here that I can say? I think that's it. She's 19. You're trying to hard. And you know what? Give it time. You start working on you, Deb, is my opinion, my advice, my suggestion. You focus on Deb and you get Deb totally okay with who Deb is. Okay? For real. And see what happens. 19 is still pretty young, and she could be going through all that individuation part where she's just acting horrible to you. I'm not trying to give you false hope, and I'm not trying to say the opposite. I'm just saying 19 is still pretty young, and I don't know the extreme of what's going on or how she's treating you, obviously, since we're just chatting. But give yourself time now and see what happens. Focus on your direction, what you want for you. That does not include changing them. Okay. And see what happens. See if different conversations can be had or different questions can be asked. And perhaps that relationship will shift and perhaps it won't. Right. You are good. It's hard while living. Oh my gosh. So hard while living with a narcissist. Yeah. And she's always been that way. Okay. Okay, then it's boundaries, and it's really, really sad and really hard, and the grief of that is real, so you honor it in you, okay? You give yourself what you need in that grief. Super important. Don't deny your grief. Don't push it away. Don't get mad at it. It's there because it's sad. It is sad. Do I play bass? I sing. I do not play anything. Those are not mine. Those are my partners. So, all right. Ooh, Deb, I so you wish you were in group because I would love to give you attention. I don't feel like I need to be the center of attention. It makes doing group therapy hard because I don't want to take the space. I would so love to help you with that space because, Deb, you deserve a little space in this world. And listening to you might be valuable for other people. And listening to you might be valuable for yourself. And that discomfort of being in the spotlight for a second, it can be a really good place for growth for those of us who feel uncomfortable being looked at. If you were raised by toxic people, you've had toxic people all around you and you're living with one, my guess is it's a little scary to be seen. And being seen is a threat, being seen is not safe. And so we shrink into invisibility and we lose our self if we ever had it, right? So, Deb, if you ever want to do the group coaching, come join me, okay? Because it would be maybe a different experience of group. I don't know. Maybe it'd be exactly the same, and I'm wrong. Okay. All right. Thank you, Stanley. Let's see what else you have grieved. Good. Grief isn't, and here's another thing though, Deb. Grief isn't, and I have done. Grief isn't always. It's in different. It hits you in different times. Okay. So I guess what I'm saying here is just be loving to yourself through the moments of it. Um, Definitely scary to be seen. You have friends that see you. Good, 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 good. Yeah, good. So I'll just stop here for a second. Say the group I was talking about is group coaching group that I run. I've been doing it for about 6 years now. Same group, different people. It's kind of incredible. It's been nonstop for 6 years, 3 times a week. So we meet right now Tuesdays and Thursdays at 4:30 Pacific, Fridays at 11 Pacific, over on Zoom. It's a $60 charge for 4 weeks, as many meetings as you want. So if you need it, if you want it, if you can, check out the information in the main description of each video. Email me. My email's there if you're not finding it or whatever. Or just leave me a message in comments, not in the chat, because I usually don't reread the chat, but I see the comments section. So, and I will get you the information. Okay. I guess that's it for today. It is reasonable. I tried to make it less than a Starbucks per meeting. You know what I mean? And less than a copay for per week, because I feel like that's an affordable rate. That way it covers my costs for running it, because there are costs involved, and it covers some of the time, and it's, yeah, supports the group. So, okay. What do we got going on? Anybody else? Did I mix anything? Mixed. I was reading the word mix and I said, did I mix? Did I miss anything here? If I missed a question or a comment, you are always welcome to repeat it. So can what be that simple that we deceive ourselves? Oh, absolutely. Because we're not deceiving ourselves. We are lost in a belief that's been planted in our brain. Okay. Our brain, think of your brain like a computer. It takes in information, it stores the information, it repeats the information. That's what it does. It's a processor. Okay. That's when we say I'm processing this, we literally mean it. We are processing it in our brains, processing the information. Neural pathways are created in your mind. You have an experience, stove is hot, touch stove. Ouch, you pull your hand away. Okay. Do it again, touch stove. Oh my gosh, and you're burnt. Oh, and you cry. Ah. So you have what? You have an object, an experience of the object, a physical reaction, an emotional reaction, a thought. Don't touch the hot stove. Okay. Repeat, repeat, repeat. You only need to do the shocking ones 1 or 2 times and you learn hot stove. Okay. This is how we are for our whole life. If we are taught by a narcissistic person, you have no worth. You mean nothing. I'm the important one. You are here. They don't say these words always. Sometimes they do. But if whatever we're taught by them, whatever we're taught to believe by the relationships we've had, especially when you've grown up with it, we don't even realize is a hot stove moment, because it happened so long ago and so many times repeatedly that it became a neural pathway. It became, this happens, I have an instant reaction to do and think that. My body has this feeling, which reinforces the emotion, which reinforces the thought, on and on it goes in the neural pathway. And what I'm suggesting and what I work with people with is changing that to create new neural pathways through all kinds of somatic things and meditations and exercises. And this is partially what I work with in coaching and group coaching. Really hard to do here, but because it's an individual thing and it's an in the moment experiential thing, that when people are walked through it, they have the experience of the difference and they go, oh my gosh, that feels so different. Right. So it's not that we are so simple that we just believe. It's all of that process has been going on for however long. And so to create a new belief, we can't just go, that stove's cold. We're always going to have the physical reminder, and we have to come at it from a different place. And my suggestion in this video is that place is from a sense of self, from a sense of being inside your body, inside this who you are, and being more authentic in your life. And yes, I agree. When you still have narcissistic people around you, really hard to do. Not impossible, really hard to do. Okay. What are we saying here? It is hard work. Yeah. It's fun though. Okay, you guys, I have to go. I have to meet with someone right now. I guess that's it. Hit the thumbs up. smash that thumbs up, right? Hit the subscribe. Let's get this channel growing, and I will be back with more live streams. I'm going to do a little community thing that says, what times do you like live streams best? What days work for you? Okay. If you guys could head over to the community once you see that, I'll probably do it this afternoon. And if you could answer the question, especially to those of you who do show up and are regularly talking to me here, so that I have some idea of when to schedule my time. You know, I'm a strong suit with the live streams, so I'm trying to work on a better plan so I have more regular live streams for y'all to come to and to participate in, and so that it can be, you know, you guys have been so awesome with the participation and like really the back and forth with me here, that and I'm loving it. I hope you guys are too. So I'd like to do more of it, is what I'm saying. But a timeline would be great, or a time schedule. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Have a lovely night. Take care.